Okay, first, just a quick recap of what the STARS class has been doing. In October, the current STARS class got together and built cornhole boards, 4 of them, and painted them and designed them with the Rotary emblem, and they are just beautiful. I know we had them here for one meeting and they were gorgeous. So then on November 3rd, they took those and they all met at Parker Street Ministries to help with the fall festival. They cooked how many hot dogs, Doug? 300? 440 hot dogs? 240 hot dogs, felt like 440 hot dogs. And they served them and they helped facilitate the games, and it was just wonderful. So, and then on the 5th, the past presidents all hosted the graduation reception for the STARS class, and it was a lot of fun, and it's just always nice to get together with such a wonderful group of people. So with no further ado, I would like to announce our first speaker, Gwen Allen. She is from the spring class, and her sponsor was Ken Berman.
Good afternoon. I want to give a shout out to my STARS class. Class of spring 2018, I guess. Want to shout out to Josie, who's not here with us today because she's with her husband over in Afghanistan on a special mission. So just want to make mention of her also, as she's not here with us. So, my story. So I work as the Director of External Relations at Southeastern University, which is my alma mater. But starting way back, before I was born, my mom first met my dad over on the east coast of Florida. They married and moved up to Pennsylvania. We're married for about 8 years. Had my sister, who is 4 years older than I am. And then I was born, and about 2 years later, they were divorced. And so my mom moved back down as a military brat. She always moved around a lot, to the east coast again. She met my stepdad, and they remarried, and then as a family we migrated over to the west coast in Tampa, where my grandfather lived, because he was retired Air Force. That's where I grew up, in Tampa. So my life really wasn't always easy growing up. My sister was 4 years older, so just far enough ahead of me to not be really engaged in my personal life, but she was around. But my parents, they worked really hard to make ends meet. But we also played hard as a family, and they gave us a lot of opportunities as well. So we loved to go boating in the bay. I was always actively involved in my church. I played sports. I love sports. I love the outdoors, basketball specifically, and I danced. And so I danced at the Conservatory of Classical Ballet for a large part of my life. But during these years is when I also took my first missions trip to Guatemala. So they provided a lot of opportunities for us, but life wasn't easy. Neither one of them had a college degree. I was the first to graduate from college in my family, as was my husband. But I learned and watched what it looked like to make dreams come true for your children, for your family. And sometimes that meant working multiple jobs while building their own business. And I learned hard work, ingenuity, and tenacity. So I'm very grateful for my life as a child, despite all of the hardships. But I grew up in the church. Oftentimes, because my parents might be busy, I'd walk to like the nearby parish by myself, the Catholic church, maybe to the Methodist church where I went to school at Bayshore Methodist, or the Baptist church where we went as a family. But I learned to love the church, to love its heart for people, its message and its mission, and that's always stuck with me growing up. But while we went as a family to the Baptist church, I kind of did my own thing because they were very busy oftentimes. When I wasn't in an activity, I was left to kind of my own devices. So I played a lot outside, but I also found myself visiting my great-grandmother down the street in the nursing home down the street from where we lived. Until she passed. But I did that, and I also participated in homeless ministry as a youth. And so we would go as a group downtown Tampa with hot McDonald's burritos, and I used to hold them hostage, until they listened to my message or me preach. I don't believe in that anymore. I learned a lot since then, but it grew a passion in me to really see people and to love them of all kinds and all shapes. But I love South Tampa, and I love the community that I had there. But in my freshman year, my parents moved to Temple Terrace. So I transferred from Plant High School to King, which was an entirely different world. But the ladies basketball team was much better, and so I enjoyed that. But after high school, I turned down a couple of offers to play basketball at like junior colleges, and instead I went to Valencia in Orlando, kind of to get away from my parents when I was young, you know, and I intended to transfer to UCF. I was going to be a broadcast journalism major, but the Lord had other plans. So, needless to say, I did take a couple years of dance in their arts program at Valencia, which is very good. But then when it was time to transfer, I needed to take a break from college. How many of you had a few years break from college or at different times, right? Life could be crazy. So I went home back to Tampa, took a year off, refocused my life, and then I ended up in Lakeland at Southeastern. So I was pulling into Lakeland. I remember turning the corner off of Bartow onto North Crystal Lake, and I thought, where have I come? Where have you brought me? That was back in early 2000, and of course I was living in Tampa and Orlando before that, and so it was foreign to me. But I really learned to love Lakeland, and have enjoyed living here, growing our family here. So I graduated from Southeastern in the spring of '05 with a major in pastoral ministries and a minor in sociology. In the last semester, I served for 3 months during my internship in South Africa. I was establishing a local church plant that was focusing on diverse congregation. And so this was less than 10 years after apartheid. So that was a pretty interesting experience for me. But I also served at the orphanage there that had children and babies that were HIV positive. And I distinctly remember I would go and visit the villages, and sitting at the bedside of one of the young ladies at the end of her life dying with AIDS. So it was a very impactful time for me, but that semester I also started dating my husband, who is also a Southeastern University alumni, or alum, and his name is Ray Allen, and he's wonderful. He's African American, and together we have 4 beautiful children. Lincoln, my son, he's 11. He goes to Lawton Childs, and Liberty is 9, and her sister, soon to be 7, Charity, go to Lincoln Avenue Academy, and then Mercy, our youngest, is in preschool, and she'll go into kindergarten at Lincoln Avenue next year. So we're really excited about that and love them. I wish I had a picture for you today, but I did not get there, and so I'm sorry, but hope that you can meet them soon. So when Lincoln was young, I started a small business with some friends. It's the Polk County Bridal Exhibit and Marketplace. So a couple of my friends, we were in the event industry and bridal consulting at Dillard's and that kind of thing, and we thought, you know, these brides and these people holding events, they're going to Tampa and to Orlando markets to have their need met. And so we started at Polk Museum of Art, held our first bridal exhibit and marketplace, and then we grew it from there until we reached, you know, the ability and status to be able to go to the Lakeland Center. And so we did that for about 3 years, but then we were still having babies, me and my friends, and we thought this is just too much. And so we sold it, and I'm happy to say it's still in existence today and meeting the needs in this market. But during the 10 years of having babies, nursing and toddlers, how many women in here can identify with that? Okay, it feels like the black hole after a little while. But anyways, I worked as a catering director, overseeing many large high-end events in both homes and in venues with Millennium Event Catering. And it was great. It gave me flexible hours. It gave me the chance to get out of the house, right? During that time, it's just important to get out of the house. But eventually I needed to do something different during the daytime and wanted to engage in business more. I started at Polk State's corporate college and served in 3 different roles over the period of 2 years in a part-time capacity. So just kind of kept moving up and had a lot of favor there, which opened the door for me then to begin at Southeastern in their advancement office this last November. So the 15th will be one year for me at Southeastern, which I love. It's my alma mater, and I love the mission. I love what it's doing in our community, and I'm happy to be a part there in return. And my husband works there. He was the director of student conduct and just recently moved into the role of director of multicultural affairs, where he's establishing that department within the university. So, needless to say, we have a very busy young family. Fun, exciting times, but I still find myself being concerned with the greater good and motivated by the message and the mission of the gospel. Ray and I have shared this passion with our children as well. And a few other things that I do, I'm on the board with United City, which is a parachurch ministry, basically seeking to unite churches to be able to work together towards the greater good. That's where I met my sponsor, Ken. We were organizing Hurricane Irma relief and reached out to volunteers across the city to come and be a part and partner and collaborate with other businesses to feed 5,000 people during that time over the period of 1 week. It was neat because United City was able to mobilize quickly and be effective and efficient. But I also serve on the pastoral team at church with my husband. And then I was sharing with Joelle, my love for the elderly and all people of all kinds has always been very present. So I also hold monthly community chapels at the Lake Morton Assisted Living Facility on the fourth Sunday of every month for about 2 years now. And I just think that's something that has always been a part of me. So I love that. Lastly, I'm the president of my neighborhood association. Kind of got thrown into that one. Love Lynn Simpkins at the city, but she definitely reeled me in when I was asking the questions about how do we get these really raggedy signs fixed in the Cleveland Heights neighborhood. And I have loved working with the city and all that they do to support us as citizens to make it a better community. So I'm currently the president of that. But now I'm also a Rotarian. And I'm very grateful to work alongside of each of you towards the greater good in our community here in Lakeland and around the world. So thank you for all you do and for having me be a part.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you for all that you do for the community. Next is Steve Miller. I met Steve when he was a volunteer at PACE, and then I had the privilege of being his sponsor.
When I was 12 years old, my father got special permission for me to work as a bag boy at a grocery store called Food Fair in Coral Gables, where I grew up. Now, 57 years later, I'm once again working in a grocery store. Publix and Southgate, but at least I have elevated my status from bag boy to cashier. And I enjoy every moment I'm there, and I see a lot of my customers out there who go through my line. I appreciate your business. I upgraded my career a bit along the way. I graduated from Coral Gables High School in 1967 and went on to get an accounting degree from the University of Georgia in 1971. Go Dogs. After graduating, I quickly learned that working in public accounting was not for me, so I pursued a career in healthcare. My first managerial position was with the Medicare contractor in Coral Gables, Florida. From there, I moved to Tallahassee and became the administrator of Florida's first freestanding surgical center, outpatient surgical center. Looking back, this is my favorite job. My team worked hard and partied even harder. After this, I was chief financial officer with the regional office of a national company based in Orlando that developed surgical centers known as single-day surgery. Next, I moved to Gainesville, where I directed a surgery center that was eventually sold to Shands Hospital. Along the way, I married, and in 1979, my son Dan was born. Raising Dan and seeing him becoming the caring and loving person that he is now has and always will be my proudest accomplishment. But more about him later. I'm not saying that because he's over there. We'll talk about that. I moved from Gainesville to Upper Saddle River, New Jersey to accept a position as Chief Financial Officer with the Center for Treatment of Drug-Addicted Teens. I left that job at the age of 40 and began my midlife crisis. I divorced, I left New Jersey, I moved in with my sister and brother-in-law, Ellie and Joel Freed, here in Lakeland. And this was an interesting time. I fell in love with Lakeland due partially to the fact that I was unemployed, single, and having way too much fun. And not being charged rent. My job went hunting landed me back in Tallahassee, and I was recruited as assistant administrator for a physical rehab hospital, Capital Rehab. One great memory I have of my time at Capital Rehab was when I met the band War backstage at a concert and convinced them to come back to our hospital and perform for our patients. While in Tallahassee, I met my current wife, Julia, and fell madly in love with the lady sitting here with you today. After Tallahassee, I was recruited in Baton Rouge to help nursing homes implement inpatient rehab centers to augment their long-term care units. I concluded part one of my career path by becoming a nursing home administrator, first in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then back here in Lakeland. In 1996, I reassessed my career goals and realized I was spending too much time trying to climb the corporate ladder. So I decided to get out of the corporate world completely and torture middle school children by teaching them mathematics. I began at Southwest Middle School in 1997, along the way getting my master's degree in education from Florida Southern, and being recognized as my school's Teacher of the Year. To this day, I frequently see former students and sometimes their children come in through my line in Publix. In fact, my supervisor at Publix right now at Southgate is a former 7th grade math student. And she still calls me Mr. Miller because I haven't kind of transitioned her over to the senior. I retired from teaching 4 years ago with a plan to work at Publix and find opportunity to give back to the community. I've been pleased with my progress. Since leaving teaching, I have been a guardian ad litem with Lila, who's here somewhere. A reading pal with United Way and a community investment team member for United Way. I'm a board member of Oak Senior Games. I'm a private math tutor. I tutor at Montessori School. I have tutored at Pace. I'm a Twice for Tots volunteer, and I'm a Rotarian, and I work in Publix. That's about all I can handle. I mentioned earlier that my proudest accomplishment was how well my kid turned out. Dan and his wife Audrey and my beautiful granddaughter, who all three are with me today, live in Asheville, North Carolina. Dan spent 13 years rising through the ranks of Outward Bound, taking children and adults on far-flung adventures. While in Florida, he took adjudicated youth on 30-day canoe trips in the wilderness. Today, he is Chief Learning Officer for the Association for Experiential Education. This nonprofit develops and certifies experiential education components of member organizations. He's a great dad, and I'm so proud of how much he has done to improve the world we live in. My wife, Julia, and I have been married 24 years today. Julia is an accountant with Metric, a local software firm, and has put up with my retired lifestyle while she toils at work 4 days a week. In my spare time, I enjoy traveling, RV camping, listening to live music. I was a musician at one time, a drummer, and played for the world-famous Ramblers of Coral Gables in the mid-'60s. You may have heard of them, but we never made out on tour, and you probably don't know. I'm looking forward to serving the community as a member of the Rotary Club of Lakeland, and very glad to be here and be able to talk with you guys today. Thanks for having me.
It always amazes me, the stories we hear from our fellow Rotarians, the life experiences they've had. I mean, it's really interesting. This is one of our, as you know, one of our best programs. I know we only get 2 folks today because we did the veteran celebration, but we're going to catch up with the other people that we're missing. And again, thank you, Steve and Gwen, for those presentations that were very good.